The book is basically about the trajectory of how I went from being a stripper to becoming a celebrity interviewer to now being a college professor. And you have to read the books to get the whole story of it. But basically, I need to give you a little bit of background. I used to strip in DC in the 90s, and it was this weird time where, because of permissive laws and law enforcement looking the other way, we actually were able to dance completely naked, except for socks. Of course, you need some place to put your tips. Completely naked, and the customers were kind of allowed to like fondle us a little bit. So you need to know that, or else it's not going to make sense. So anyway, this is just a little bit from a chapter. Once I had started dancing for a while, the first summer that I was dancing. So okay. As the summer weeks passed, I became more serious about my job as a boy, if not for sale, then at least for controlled access rental. I bought new outfits and paraphernalia, jock straps, Speedos, G-strings, and a cool double loop cock ring that separated my dick from my balls, making it stick out like a pistol when hard. I carried all the stuff with me in my Nike duffel bag, which also included lotion, breath mints because gum was frowned upon, lemon-scented wet ones for quick freshening ups, and elbow grease. I developed a ritual for getting ready for work. I tried to be home from wherever I was during the day by 6 p.m. This allowed me to eat, shower, and shave before leaving for work around 8 p.m. Shaving, of course, entailed more than just running a razor over my face. I kept my chest bare, and I'd shave the shaft of my dick to make it look bigger. All of my preparation was in the service of trying to come off as desirable as possible. Most people have similar grooming rituals when getting ready for a date on a Saturday night. The difference is that a stripper has to be alluring and attractive day after day for several hours at a time, a feat that takes considerable effort to maintain and is sometimes tricky to pull off. Even taking a dump at work, a thought that terrifies many cubicle dwellers, was particularly problematic for those of us who spent a large chunk of the workday spreading our ass cheeks in a customer's face. The extent of this dilemma became clear to me one night at Secrets, this is the place where I work, when Donnie, a fellow dancer who I had become friendly with, came into the dressing room looking distressed. "Craig, I have to shit," he said, bouncing up and down and holding his stomach. It was a strange image. Donnie was a muscular black man with a pumped-up chest, mountainous biceps, and a thick, round booty, but at this moment he was acting like a little kid. "Go ahead then," I said, not quite realizing why this obvious solution wasn't apparent to him. "I can't," he said, stretching his bowels like they were a lifeline, the only thing keeping him from dropping a turd that very instant. "Why not?" "I can't shit in the bathrooms here. All the customers are in there. It'd be embarrassing." He had a point. It certainly didn't add to a dancer's allure to be seen coming out of a funky stall. Besides, there was always so much commotion in the Secrets bathrooms. Customers walking in and out, stall doors swinging open and slamming shut, guys flirting at the urinals. It was not the kind of place where you could comfortably come in and, with a cup of joe and a folded copy of the Washington Post, sit down and get your bowels a-moving. Donnie lived too far away, so there was no time for him to get home and back in the 15 minutes before our next set. But there was enough time to go to a large gay dance club nearby. This offered more anonymity. Donnie didn't have a car, so he asked me to be the wheels man. In order to preserve the intestinal dignity of my fellow dancer, I became an accomplice in Operation Shit. Once agreeing on the plan, we quickly changed out of our stripper gear and started making our exit. As we headed out of Secrets, the doorman stopped us. "Where are you two going?" he said, eyeing us suspiciously. "Your sets are coming up." "To get food," I answered. At the same time, Donnie said, "We need cigarettes." It was a cheesy sitcom farce. I thought the doorman was going to ask more questions, but he soon went back to looking at his crossword puzzle. No one really expected strippers to make sense. We reached the car. Donnie jumped in the passenger seat and we were off. One block passed, then two. We crossed a bustling intersection, turned a corner, and pulled into the circular driveway of Trax, the city's busiest gay dance club, which was also the place where I met my ex-boyfriend. Donnie jumped out and exchanged some words with the club's bouncer, who I assumed was a friend. He disappeared into the club. I watched all the trendy young gay boys gathered out front, smiling, talking to friends, their hair shining under the streetlights. These guys weren't spending their night standing on platforms and hustling older guys out of cash. Their worst worry of the night would be farting in bed later with a lover, not shitting on stage. Yet somehow I was glad that I was where I was instead of where they were. I didn't know why, but I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. A few minutes passed. I looked at the clock and got nervous because we had to be back in 4 minutes. Nevertheless, I realized that proper hygiene, however time-consuming, was important at a time like this. I looked back at the door and Donnie came rushing out with a notably lighter step. "Let's go," he said, jumping in the car. We made it back to the club. The doorman looked up. We had no food or cigarettes with us, but all he said was, "You're cutting it close tonight." I figured he thought we had just done a duo show and serviced a trick at the porn theater next door, something that wasn't an uncommon occurrence. Donnie and I got back to the kitchen for a quick change. Already the dancers from the previous set were making their way off the stage, boxes and bar. I got my pants off, grabbed my cock ring, and accidentally pinched a wad of ball skin in the snap while trying to put it on. "Fuck!" I yelled, taking off the cock ring and throwing it back into my gym bag. I rushed out of the kitchen, 2 minutes late for my set. The dancer who was replacing me on stage rolled his eyes at me. At Secrets, you weren't allowed to leave your position until another dancer replaced you. I looked around and fortunately didn't see the manager, who had been really giving people shit about being late. Within minutes, things got really busy, and I had a line of guys waiting to stroke my cock. Thankfully, I was able to get hard even without the cock ring. Tips were coming fast. It was going to be a good night. As I dropped to my knees and let another guy tug my dick back and forth, I glanced over to see Donnie kneeling on the bar in front of one of his regulars. He was politely nodding at whatever the customer was saying when he spotted me looking over at him. He lifted his hand and wiped his brow, the universal sign of relief. Thanks.